Cisco, or Cisco Systems if you prefer, was founded on the 10th of December 1984. Cisco are now 40 years old. Changed the world with regards to networking. Cisco very famous for routers and switches. Here I've got two Cisco AGS routers, the OGs of routers. This is the second generation of the AGS, or Advanced Gateway Server Router. This picture on Wikipedia looks like it comes from the Cisco Museum at the Cisco headquarters in San Jose. I visited the headquarters a few years ago and got some footage of this router and other really cool devices at the Cisco headquarters. These routers are from the late 1980s or early 90s, maybe older than you. This is my router, which I purchased a while ago. You can see it's got a console port here. Here we've got some Ethernet ports, so 11 Ethernet ports and 2 serial ports. Dave from Go Communications very kindly lent me this router. This router will be going to the museum at Bletchley Park once my videos have been created. Bletchley Park, as you may know, very famous for Alan Turing and the cracking of the Enigma code. I'll show you the internals of these routers in more detail later. But before we get to that, I think it's really important that we get this router on the internet. I'm going to be using this router to connect to the internet using various technologies such as 10Base2. As you can see here, this is a 10Base2 network, T-connector and terminators at the end. This is 10Base5, so I think it's important that we also connect to the router using 10Base5. So we're going to connect to the router using technologies from years ago. I'll obviously also use modern Ethernet like this. We're going to connect to the internet using various technologies, including Starlink. This is a Starlink Mini. So I think it'll be interesting to see 1980s, 1990s technology connected to very modern technology, Starlink Mini. I'll connect the AGSs to the Starlink using Ethernet so we can get onto the internet using satellites. So here we've got the AGS. I've also got another really famous router here. This is a 2500, in this case a 2514 router. I've got a bunch of transceivers here so that we can connect to the Ethernet ports on these devices. So let's start with 10Base2. What I'll do is take the transceiver and connect it to Ethernet 1 on the AGS. So 10Base2 there. I've got a little Netgear hub here. It's got 10Base2 on the one side and then RJ45 on the other. So what we'll do is take our 10Base2 cable, T-connector on the one side, terminator on the end, and then on the other side, I'll connect this to the hub. So we've got a little 10Base2 network here. And then what I can do is use UTP on the one side and then connect that to the hub. And then on the other side, I'll plug this into a USB to Ethernet adapter on the laptop so that we can get this laptop onto the internet. Now, this AGS doesn't support NAT or network address translation, so I'm going to connect it to the 2500 here and then get the 2500 to run network address translation. So another transceiver on the AGS, and now I'm going to need a crossover Ethernet cable. So crossover cable from the AGS to the Cisco router. And lastly, what I need is another transceiver to connect us to the outside world. So this red cable connects to my local network. So internet is here, connection from the 2500 to the AGS using a crossover cable. And then we've got 10Base2 connecting to the hub. And then the hub is connecting us to the laptop. If that's all cabled up correctly, I should be able to access the internet from this laptop. Now, the last thing to do is power this up. I can plug the power into the AGS. This is connected to a transformer because this requires 110 volts and the UK power supply is different. So I've got a little transformer there. I'll plug in the hub. So the hub is plugged in. And lastly, the 2500 series router. Now, this thing was named the leaf blower because of the amount of noise it makes when you turn it on. So I'm going to move it a little bit down my desk so that we don't destroy all the audio here with the noise that this thing makes. Now, the one thing I forgot to mention is the console. It uses a DB25 connector. So I've got a male DB25 here to female DB9, and I'll connect that here. And then I'll be able to put that into the laptop's USB port. So I've now got the laptop connected by USB to the AGS's console port. I'll turn on the 2500 series router. So that's on now. The hub is on already. And now you can listen to the noise that this thing makes. So 1, 2, 3. So I'll try and talk louder. Hopefully the noise isn't too bad. But what I'll do on the laptop is go to Device Manager. And what we can see here is COM port. We've got COM15. So what I'll do is open up a PuTTY session to COM15. And as you can see there, the router is using iOS version 10.3. You can see it says CSC4. So there you go, it's booted up. I've given it a name of AGS already and a password of Cisco. So show version shows us the operating system on the device. We can see as an example the processor used. We can see that X25 is supported. So I'm assuming many of you haven't worked with X25. That came before Frame Relay, which has all been replaced now in most places in the world. It sees 2 Ethernet interfaces and 4 serial interfaces. Configuration registers 0x1. Now what you'll notice is the commands are very similar to commands on a very modern router. So show run as an example will show us the configuration. What I've done is configure Ethernet 0 with 192.168.84.1, 1984. Cisco's 40 years old, so the other subnet is 192.168.40.1. What I'll do now is type show CDP neighbors, and as you can see, we can see the 2500 as a neighbor on Ethernet 0, which is correct. Ethernet 0 here is connected to Ethernet 0 on the 2500. If I look at details, I can see the IP address of the 2500. So what I could do as an example is telnet to that router and log in. So on the 2500, can we ping cisco.com? And the answer is yes, we can. I'll type exit to go back to the AGS. Can it ping cisco.com? And the answer is yes. So this AGS has IP connectivity to the internet. I could ping google.com as an example. And notice that also succeeds. So this router is connected to the internet. Let's confirm that on the laptop, however. So show IP interface brief, if I can spell correctly. Ethernet 1 has this IP address, 192.168.40.1. So on the PC, if I type IP config, you can see it's got an IP address of 192.168.40.99. I manually configure these IP addresses, but this laptop should be able to ping the AGS. I am seeing a problem here. It says that the interface is down. Now, I've been having real problems with my 10Base2 network. Thank goodness we don't use it today. This terminator, as an example, is dodgy. Things haven't been working correctly. This hub is giving me problems, so I'm going to change the network now so that we can get this laptop onto the internet. What I'm going to do, just to keep the 10Base2 network so that you can see that, is swap these transceivers. So I'll move this transceiver to the top. I'll put the UTP transceiver down here. And what I'll do is plug the laptop into that transceiver. And then I'll unplug the 10Base2 from the hub. And I'll plug that into the Cisco 2500. So what I've done now is make the 10Base2 network, the network between the AGS and the 2500 series router. And I've plugged the laptop directly into the AGS. Let's see what our interfaces look like now. So show IP interface brief. We can see both interfaces are up. Can we ping the 2500 series router? Answer is yes. Can we ping google.com? Yes, we can. So I'm pinging from the AGS now across the 10Base2 network to google.com. Show IP interface brief shows me that both my interfaces are up now. And on the laptop, hopefully I'll be able to ping the AGS, which I can. So that's a good sign. And can we ping google.com? Answer is yes, we can. So this laptop is connected via this Ethernet cable to the AGS. AGS is connected via 10Base2 to the 2500 series router, and that's then connected to my home network. So on the laptop, I'll open up Chrome and go to cisco.com. And as you can see there, it's slow, but I can get to Cisco.com from this laptop via the AGS, 10Base2 network, via the 2500 to my local network. If I go to fast.com, I'm getting about 7 megabits per second, 7.5 megabits per second. So not bad going through this network. So what I'll do to make the point is I'll ping google.com. Notice continuous ping now to google.com. If I unplug this connector, for instance, on the 2500 series router, notice pings are now failing because network is broken. On the AGS, so if I connect to the console of the AGS and type show IP interface brief, might take it a while. Still says the interface is up, but if I try and ping google.com now from the AGS, that's also failing. I've basically killed the network now. Go back to the PC, pings are failing. Plug the 10Base2 network in, and hopefully after a while, we'll be able to connect back to the internet. It took it a while, but there you go. I can successfully ping google.com. And once again, if I go to a website such as davidbomble.com, website displays, I have internet connectivity through this AGS. The AGS is routing traffic from this interface using UTP cabling to this interface using 10Base2. So there you go. Router from the 1980s or early 1990s is routing traffic from a Windows 11 computer to the internet. Okay, but how about something different now? Rather than modern Ethernet and 10Base2, let's really go back in time and use 10Base5. What I've got here is a 386 laptop, really old laptop running Windows 3.11. I'll click OK. What I'll do is double click on MS-DOS prompt. So DOS prompt is opened, MS-DOS version 6.2.2. I'll type DOS key so we can use up key to retype commands, and then I'll ping Cisco.com. So I'm pinging Cisco.com now, and there you go, that's working. But in this example, what I'm doing is I am pinging across a 10Base5 network. This laptop is connected via this drop cable through a terminator onto this 10Base5 network. So within here, we've got a terminator, the cable is being pierced. This is 10Base5, the original version of Ethernet transceiver connected via drop cable to this laptop. So not sure you can see that very clearly. Notice the other end of the drop cable is here, connected to an Ethernet card. And obviously this would normally be covered, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like. This is an Amstrad 386 laptop. So I am connecting via 10Base5. And if I use up key again, notice I can ping Cisco.com. So on the other end of the 10Base5 network, I've got a transceiver with the drop cable connected to the AGS. 10Base5, just like 10Base2, had to use terminators. So I've got terminators on the cable. So as an example here, this transceiver isn't connected to anyone, but here I've got a terminator. If I try and ping, so I'll put a -T there. So I've got a continuous ping to Cisco.com. And what I'll do now is remove the terminator. And what will happen is pings will start failing because we'll get collisions in the network. So as you can see there, hopefully requests are timing out because there are collisions taking place in the network. You don't see it there, but you'll see it here. Notice on this transceiver, we're getting a whole bunch of collisions because traffic is bouncing back and forth across the cable because there's no terminator at the end to kill the signal. On bus networks, and 10Base5 is an example of that, we have to have terminators at the end to stop signals bouncing back. So as soon as I put this terminator back on, hopefully what should happen is our pings should start succeeding. So terminator is back again. May take it a while, but hopefully collisions will stop. So we won't have any more collisions on the network and our pings will succeed. Took it a while, but there you go. I can now ping Cisco.com from this laptop. So again, what we've got in this example is Windows 3.11 laptop connected via 10Base5. Here's the transceiver that it's connected to. We've got our 10Base5 network. At the end of the cable, we are connected to the AGS. The AGS is routing 10Base5 to 10Base2. So here's the 10Base2 network. If I disconnect the 10Base2 network, pings will fail. So at the moment, pings are still succeeding. But if I disconnect the 10Base2 network, pings will start failing, as you can see over there, because traffic is being routed via 10Base2 to the 2500. If I connect that back again, hopefully pings will succeed. And as you can see there, pings are now succeeding. This is a 386 laptop running Windows 3.11, connected to 10Base5, so 1980s network, connected to an AGS. So this router is from the 1980s or early 1990s. We're using 10Base2 here. So let's actually show you this on the AGS. I bumped the cable here, so ping started timing out. But on the AGS, type enable. I put a password on the AGS. Show IP interface brief. What I did while I was setting up this network is change the IP address of Ethernet 1 to 10.1.1.1 to keep it in the same subnet as this laptop. Much easier for me to change it on the Cisco router rather than mess around with Windows here. This router, once again, can ping google.com via the 10Base2 network. So there you go, Windows 3.11 connected to 10Base5, connected to 10Base2 via a Cisco AGS router. Last thing to do, I think, is to connect the network to a Starlink, just to show you something different, rather than connecting it via my fiber connection. So what we'll do here is connect it to Ethernet on the Starlink. So Starlink has a little Ethernet connector there, and you can buy Ethernet cables from Starlink like this one to connect Ethernet from, say, a router, 2500 in this example, to the Starlink. So I'll pause the video for a second while I get that set up. What I need to do essentially is connect this to Starlink, take this dish outside so that it can see the satellites, and then hopefully I'll be able to ping the internet via Starlink. At the moment, pings are failing on the Windows 3.11 computer because I've disconnected it from our local network and connected it to this cable.
1 million, zillion, jillion, dillion, cotillion times later.
Okay, so I've connected Starlink to my 2500 series router. Show IP interface brief shows me that the IP address at the moment is this on the Ethernet 1 interface. So on Ethernet 1 IP address, and notice this router doesn't support DHCP, so I'll have to configure the IP address manually. So I'll configure it as 192.168.1.123 with a subnet mask of that, and then I'll set the default gateway or default route to the Starlink router. 192.168.1.1 is the address it seems to use, and I should type that right. So IP route, not IP router. So can I ping 192.168.1.1? Yes, I can. Can I ping google.com through the Starlink router? Yes, I can. So this 2500 series router can ping Google through Starlink. Can the AGS ping Google through Starlink? So on the AGS, ping Cisco.com as an example. I can ping Cisco.com. I can ping Google.com. Now, what about the Windows 3.11 computer? As you can see there, it can ping Cisco.com. What I'll do is Control-C that, press up key, ping Cisco.com-T. As you can see, that resolves and that works. This is pinging via Starlink. This laptop is now pinging through 10Base5, through 10Base2, via UTP, through satellites. I am connecting to the internet through my Starlink router. Just to make the point, what I'll do is connect the Starlink directly to this laptop. So on this laptop here, if I go to Cisco.com, hopefully that will work. Yes, it does. And if I say, what's my IP address, what you can see there is the ISP is Starlink. As you can see there, I'm connecting via Starlink to the internet. And all I'll do now is unplug this cable from the laptop, plug it into the Cisco router. Interface has come up on the 2500 series router. On the 2500 series router, can I ping the Starlink router? Yes, I can. Can I ping Cisco.com? Yes, I can. So I have internet connectivity via Starlink. As you can see there, but dodgy with the connection because my dish is not in the right place and there are obstructions with connecting to satellites. But summary, this is a 386 laptop connected via 10Base5 to a Cisco AGS, which is in turn routing from 10Base5, one subnet to another, 10Base2 to a 2500 series router, which is then connecting us to satellites. Now, I think I've covered enough in this video. Let me know if you want to see more retro networking type stuff like this, if you want to see other old devices. I have a bunch, and I want to really thank David once again from Go Communications for loaning me this AGS so that I could do this demonstration, and also for sending me a bunch of other equipment. If you need refurbished Cisco devices and other networking vendor devices, have a look at David's links, which I've linked below.
Yeah.